that nature. I have in here also talking about professionalism. I'll comb over that a little bit. I'm always thinking that it's a good refresher for us all to discuss professionalism and what's connected with that. But professionalism is important as it pertains to effective communication, because how we present ourselves as professionals is a way of how we communicate with the people that we serve, as well as with our colleagues as well. Does that make sense? So professionalism is someone who receives monetary compensation for participating in their career of choice, right? So when you think about professionals, you think about social workers, you think about licensed professional counselors, you think about lawyers, you think about doctors, you think about police officers, and so forth. So with each one of those titles, a certain image comes along with that you feel like, this is the personification, rather, of a professional. But you guys know, like I know, that you can be in an environment with folks who have the same credentials as you, and they can be totally belligerent, totally unprofessional, and do it regularly, right? So, I mean, just some of the basics: getting to work on time, coming to trainings on time. Right? But, really communicating with each other on work-based topics primarily. Sometimes you'll go into workplaces and folks are talking about stuff that has nothing to do with work at all. And it can be very inappropriate as well. And I think right now with so many forms of communication right now, the lines can be blurred. Right? The lines can be blurred huge, because you think about 20 years ago, we didn't have like cell phones. Well, we had the big ones, but not everyone had a cell phone. But now you can communicate via cell phone, text message, you can Facebook message someone, you can IM someone, you can email them, you can call them on the hard line, you can talk to them face to face, you can fax them a message. And what I find is that all of these different options of how we can communicate with people, everybody communicates differently, right? Everybody communicates differently. When I was, my dentist is in Bethesda, and I used to work in Bethesda, so I have a lot of my former coworkers are out there. So when I was out there, I called one of my former colleagues. I said, "Hey, Melissa, this is Mike." And I left a voicemail. I said, "I'm in Bethesda today, and I'm going to the dentist, and we get a cleaning." I said, "Look, let's do lunch when I'm done with the dentist." Never heard back from her, right? 1 month went by, didn't hear back from her. 2 months went by, didn't hear back from her. Next, after 2 months, she sent me a Facebook message to say, "Mike, I just got your voicemail. I don't listen to my voicemails regularly, and I'm so sorry that I missed it, because I would have enjoyed having lunch with you." So from that time on, anytime that I want to connect with Melissa, I send her a Facebook message, because she's responsive to that. So everybody communicates on different levels. So just really trying to find out how each and every person rather you communicate with, what's their communication style, then it can make your role easier as a professional to connect with them. Does that make sense? Yeah, I had to find out about it. It's really weird, but it's so many options. So it's all about the behaviors, the verbals, the nonverbal. We'll talk about that as well. But effective communication is just essential within the workplace. Particularly when it comes along with disseminating different responsibilities to other staff members, to the parents that you serve, and as well as to the children, right? So if something is lost in translation, the end receiver is going to get a totally different message, right? When we were little kids, at least some of us, we used to play the telephone game. Right, I would tell her something in her ear, whisper something, it'll go around the table, and then once it gets to her, it'll be something that's totally different. So being an effective communicator, you have to be clear and concise on what the topic is and how you want it done. You don't have to give them the whole big blown out version. Like my wife says, she says, "Give me the abbreviated version." Okay, give me the abbreviated version. Just the facts, okay? So we're going to talk about just the different strategies in terms of how to use effective communication.
You have email communication in here?
I do.
Good.
I have email etiquette, and I have a whole training on it as well.
Well, yeah, I wish you would do it for the whole company from top down.
Okay. We go to this top down stuff.
Because I had an incident last week where I asked somebody to email me some dates, right? Just simple dates. They had to copy the partners on it. I was offended by that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because to me, when you copy upper management on an email, it changes the tone of everything about that email.
Right.
So me being me, I'm going to approach it.
Right.
Right? They couldn't understand why they was approached.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, think about it. Something that's simple. You copy the partners on it, that's making me feel like you don't trust me to do.
Like throwing you under the bus.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
It's throwing you under the
so
bus.
I think that's important. A lot of people don't look at, they think because they typing something on paper or writing something on paper that the other person is going to receive it that way. You know, and this, like you say, email etiquette is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think enough companies understand that.
Well, I can jump into email etiquette right now because, you know, you guys, I pretty much know the flow of this group, so we can go ahead and go back. I don't want to do it all synchronized. So, and that's huge, especially now you have email capabilities on your phone, right? I have three email accounts on my cell phone right now that I have access to. One solely for business. Right? If I get an email from my Gmail, I know it's money, right? It's Linda's on that Gmail, so I know that it's money. It's no, I'm going to sell you this, or,
right.
you know, it's straight. I know this is my money one. Then I have my personal one, and I have my little in-between one, my old email that was business, but it was too long, and so I get some personal, some business in it. So I differentiate. So we have all of these different layers of how we communicate and for ourselves respectively. And we know those things, right? So we know how to do it. But when we talk about email etiquette, I mean, a lot of folks, I used to date this girl. She used to, every email that she sent me, everything was all caps, right? So it was like every time I looked at it, it's like, what are you going to be doing tonight? It was like you're yelling at me, right? So you're talking about the CCs on it, but what about the blind carbon copies, right?
Yeah.
So every time that I send an email, what'd you say?
I don't think about that. I don't even think about that.
Right, because sometimes we are in the throw under the bus generation, right?
True.
So, and I worked in an organization where, you know, I would be sitting as close to her, like I have a cubicle right to, what's your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's Aaron.
It's Aaron. Okay. So I'll be as close to Aaron in the cubicle, just a little, well, not just like you guys have these workstations right here. You know, so she could just stand up and I don't even get on her tippy toes and tell me what she wants, right? But I would get an email or an IM, right? So me being just about being Generation X, when I was born, I would walk over to Aaron and say, hey, Aaron, I just got this email from you. But people use emails to cover their... Right? They use the CYA because it has something in writing. These emails are like mini contracts, right? It's a miniature contract that folks send out on a regular basis. Now, when you're talking about multidisciplinary teams, when you're working amongst, you know, you're talking managers, you're talking, other fields of discipline. So, you know, I worked in the federal government, as I shared with you guys many times before, but it was nurses there, it was doctors. So everybody had a different school of thought. And people would look, you know, just like I would send that message to Aaron and it'll go around. And about the time it gets to, what's your name? Kim. Once it gets to Kim, it'll be totally different. It's the same thing with an email, right? You can, all of us could look at, 6, 7 of us here, we can all look at the same email and have a different interpretation of it, right? We can have a different interpretation. So when I worked at this one organization where everybody always sees not only my manager, not only my manager's manager, sometimes they would CC the CEO on it. So I would really feel insecure, okay? Now I was the only male there, and I was the only black male there, right? So I'm like, man, you know, everything was like, are you trying to get rid of me, right? It's like, what's going on here, right? So I was really feeling on the defenses on a regular. So because they would blind carbon copy and blind copy folks on it, I just got into the habit. Even if it came from Linda Ward, I would still always hit reply all, right? I'm hitting reply all. So just in case you're in there hiding behind the scenes, right? You're going to know what I'm saying, right? You're going to see it from my perspective as well. And before you send those emails, you need to review that email, right? Because it would take me about 30 minutes to send an email of 3 or 4 sentences. right? And I'll read it out loud. If I see one of my colleagues in the office say, hey, Aaron, come here for a second. Look at this. How does that look to you? You think that's offensive to someone? Let's get a second opinion sometimes. Because once you hit send, it's hard to get back. You can't get that back, right? And because I know that they do have a feature on Outlook that you can kind of get it, but if you do it within time, within time, and the and that's a lot, of pressure, right? That's a lot of pressure. Oh my God, I sent this email. Oh my God, I hope they didn't get it, and you kind of see them on your way to get some coffee or something, and they're like, did you see that email? You're thinking in your mind, so it's really it can be very stressful, and so that communication, just trying to just dot your I's, cross the T's, everything. You never get a second chance to make a first impression, right? I talked about that deodorant commercial back in the days. Same thing. Really just being on top of it, right? Just being on top of it and knowing all different forms of how you want to get it down, and really just checking yourself, with the professionalism, because it's not just how you dress or what your title is or how good you smell or the makeup you have, but it's what's coming out of your mouth and what's coming off the tip of them fingers, because that's what's representing you. Okay, so.
But see, I know what the problem is. They want to be copied. I can see them being copied on certain emails. I mean, 100%. I can understand if it's an issue or whatever, but if it's just normal, like everyday communication between the employees, I don't think they need to be copied on that.
Right.
Because you trust and believe they're not reading it. They don't even read the important stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Right.
So that's what I try to come across to them, to get them to understand, like, don't think you guys have not sat in our seats before. Okay? Because you weren't always an owner. So you got to go back and think about how you would feel if one of your coworkers copy your upper management on something as simple as that. That's very offensive. And I mean,
right.
And then some of these emails, the tone, well, they say you can't read tone, but you can read tone.
Yeah, you can read
it's just
tone.
Like, for me, I just don't even respond because I know how I would respond.
Yeah.
And I sometimes, and then, oh my goodness, what about the verbose emails that are so long, things that can be summed up in like 3 sentences? That really gets under my skin. I don't even read it. I'm once I get past a couple sentences and you still got another paragraph on it, I'm done. Because that's ridiculous.
Yeah. You spend half your day reading the emails. And, so we talk about tone. So, I'm somebody who I like to put my exclamation points at the end of my sentence because I like to be excited and I want to be positive. But then I look at it and I say, maybe I don't like that because that may look like I'm yelling at you too. So let me just go back and put a period there. And sometimes you may just want to keep it concise and just say okay to this huge verbose email, but then they may say, you didn't put enough in there. Now, I had a director, he was a deputy director, and he was former academia, so he's a PhD, so everything had to be, no, that's not grammatically correct. So he wanted to go back, and then if you just gave him like 2 or 3 words or 1 or 2 sentences, he was like, well, that's, I need a little bit more from you. And, so you can't please everybody, and we had a lot of challenges because he wanted me to be a student, and I'm like, dude, I already got my degrees, okay? You're not my professor, so it was a real disconnect between him and I in terms of the expectations. But all in all, in a nutshell, it's really just identifying your culture, knowing the workplace culture. Like I knew that, it would be email wars going on all day long, right? It was huge. It was email wars. Folks were, because you think about it now, it's like, anybody hear this controversy going around with the Cheerios commercial with the the biracial thing? Right, but look at it. So the comments.
They have the biracial couple and the little girl, she little biracial.
She's biracial.
Curly hair, whatever, and they have an issue with that.
I thought it was funny.
Well, it was cute. I thought it was cute, but
what's the issue though?
Well, this is the issue.
Black man, white woman. Let's put it like that.
Well, yeah, and so they had a comment page after the video on the website, so a lot of people were stating all of these negative type things on there. So they, but most of the time they have like, these mocha colored children with 2 black parents, and this doesn't even look right. It's like, what? How is this? So this actually looked real, but it was so many negative comments there that the Cheerios, they took all of the comments off of it. So I was listening to 88.9 the other day, and that was on Mark Steiner the other morning, and folks were talking about it, and they said that in this society with this generation, that people, it's like a Ku Klux Klan kind of thing, because you can put your comments on these sites, but you can hide behind it. Like it's faceless. Like folks don't know who you are, so you can really say some really ignorant, hateful things, and
just go around and find out who they are. You got an IP address, you can be found.
Absolutely.
So you're really not anonymous, but
But I mean, you can put this type of hate and energy out there and have people discuss it because of how you feel.
Right.
And some people just do it for a joke to get, some of that stuff. Any of those comments you read, it could be. Mike Allen did a training this morning. I'm like, I can't stand him. He has this ugly, shirt on. His crooked teeth and his big old ears. So people are gonna find something negative to say anyway.
Right.
But that's again, so with the emails, my point is to connect it is, folks hide behind emails because you'll see them and say, hey, how you doing today? Right? Folks are going to just smile in your face like nothing happened. They become email bullies.
That's what she was.
They get on that email and I was like, man, I will what? You better have my money, and if you don't, I'm going to punch. Right? And he said, hey, how you doing?
Quiet, timid.
Yeah, it's totally different. I'm like, well, hold on, where's the Gooch at? Where's the big bad wolf? Like,
but what I would just pick up the phone, because after a while going back and forth is like pointless.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because no one's getting you're not getting anywhere. So I would just pick up the phone and call.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to send an email to upper management, I'm kind of tutored, right? But I need to get out what I need to get out. At the end, I'll say respectfully, right? So you can understand that I'm not disrespecting you, but I'm an adult too.
Right.
So, let me just voice my opinion.
Right.
But that way to respectfully take out the disrespect, to me, if you got to be straightforward, in which you should be able to speak your mind, but at the same time, I'm not disrespecting you, just this how I feel about it.
Right. And, it's just really being cognizant of what you put down on it, because it could be, you never know, it could be thrown in your file and it could be a point of reference, right? So you always just want to be conscious of what you put down, knowing the culture of the organization. Is emails, is that a big form of communication? Do folks reference an email or some form of communication that you've provided months ago? Then you see those indicators. So really just reviewing your emails and say, because it is it's documented. You look at some of these shows, the Judge Judy's on, they go to the text message. They said that they were gonna pay me, and they didn't say that smiley face, right? And they use this stuff in the court of law. So every document that you put out, whether it's with the partners, whether it's with your colleagues, whether it's with the parents, just check it. Just check it, and just to cover yourself, all the time, because you don't want to throw yourself under the bus too. Oh, you get heated and you just send an email and, because you can see the tone, your own tone.
Right, when you read it back.
Right, but sometimes we don't send it because we're so emotional. We want to send it and get it done and bam, and then also the autocorrect thing on your phone when you're doing that. You sending out stuff that, you would have never said, right. You don't know. You could be looking like you made a drug deal and you're like, man, I didn't ask for that. Just because you hit the autocorrect on there. So the first impressions, I'll skip this, but, because this is for another group that I did that's, they were paraprofessionals, but really just knowing the type of clothing that's appropriate, what to wear, just things that's really appropriate. Like, all you guys always seem appropriate when I meet with you. I have a friend, she, real close friend. I'm not going to say what institution she went to. PhD for about 10, 11 years now. But wasn't hired for about 3-4 years. She had a job. But she was working at DSS as a caseworker with a PhD. And I'm like, how could you not have a PhD? And I'm talking to her, and then I look down, and I'm saying, oh, okay, I see now. Her breasts her cleavage were just on display, right? And it was hard to take her seriously because she didn't know how to dress it up, right? She didn't know how to dress it up. And then plus the way she communicated was still street. She talked street. And she said, you know what I'm saying? And no, I don't know what you're saying. I said, I'm a PhD. And she always would throw that in the sentence like, yeah, I'm a PhD. And before I was Dr. Such and Such, people wouldn't. But I'm like, you still got your breasts hanging out. And as a guy, you know, I mean, I'm sorry. You know, my wife knows. I'm going to look. Like, I mean, I'm going to look. Right? I mean, I'm going to look. I'm going to drool. Right? I'm going to, well, I'm going to start thinking. Yeah. Anyway. But, you know, you got to, if I'm thinking that, right, you're going to go into, an interview, and you just have to know how to dress, right? Mm-hmm. You have to know how to dress and how to be appropriate on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So I had to share that right there. But all of you guys look great, okay? I'm the first to volunteer you guys to have the first Parker Therapeutic fashion show. You can do it, right? And I will host it. Oh my goodness. There is a team building exercise, and I totally left this thing on my desk, so I truly apologize, but I'll make it up for you guys with the exercise at the end. Not that one, it was another one. This team exercise was really, I was going to see who would volunteer to be the communicator and who would be the listener. And with it, the communicator would have a sheet that had like different shapes, and these shapes are kind of not in no specific order, but they would have to communicate to the listener how to draw those shapes, how they look on the paper. And at the end result, you can see a bunch of different types of lovely art.
I did that in the training with the foster parents.
Yeah,
but it was good to see that everyone perceived this one thing differently.
Everyone perceives it differently. And that's great for the parents to do an exercise like that, or even like when I work with parents, we would blindfold them, take them out to the no, I'm joking. We would blindfold them. We'll have like the child. We'll take the child and blindfold the child, turn them around in a couple of circles. They'll have like a pitcher of water. They'll have to walk from here to where Linda is, and there would be like a bucket there, and the parent would just be walking on their side, like keep going straight, move 2 steps to the right, and have them walk in there, and then have them pour the water in the bucket. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they missed, and folks were getting wet, but the whole moral of the story was on the level of communication and listening, and how well are you listening to this message that I'm sending, and I'm trying to get across, so we have the same objective. Like, you know the rules. I want to get you. I'm gonna blindfold you. I'm gonna get the water in here. And I'm gonna have you take it and put the water in the bucket. But some folks couldn't do it, you know, because they couldn't listen. Right? They want to do their things their way. You want to tell them take 2 steps. They want to take 3 big steps. You tell them take 2 small steps. So, you know, and really giving it back to them and telling them, like, I told you to take 2 steps. You took 3. See, you know. This is how we have to do it, you know. But at the end, they got it, and they you know, a lot of them you can tell folks how to do it, but giving them those physical types of activities to really present themselves and show to themselves that they can or cannot do what you're asking them to do. So effective communication, it requires trust, right? It's trust. When I first got my contract with Parker Therapeutic, spoke with Miss Linda, spoke with Mr. Parker, met them, Deanna, and so they know, you know, I agreed that I'm going to be here every 2 weeks at 9 a.m. to 10:30. So they're not here right now. I mean, Linda is, but I mean, the trust that they have is that I'm going to be there as a professional and do what I'm contracted to do, right? I have a contract out in San Diego. Never met these folks before, but everything is through email, phone calls, and they have me, I consult with them to go out and provide these trainings on their behalf. So it's about a level of trust, and it's about being a professional. Now, our greatest one right here is communication breakdown, right? Communication breakdown. When do we have a communication breakdown? This is the fun part. It's when both parties involved are not listening to each other. Nobody's listening, right? We're talking about something that it could be regarding one of our foster children. We're talking to a foster parent. We're the professional. That foster parent is the paraprofessional, or they could be a professional within their other discipline. But what we're talking about together is based on the child's success or failure. You know, sometimes the parents can be so excited, right? They can be so excited, so animated that they talk over us sometimes, right? And it's like we're saying something and they talk over us, and then when they finally take a breath, then we forget what we were about to say to them anyway. So who loses in that situation? Yeah. The child. The child loses if we're trying to communicate on his or her behalf, right? And so we have to take turns to see who needs a chance to talk. We need to hear from that person. They need to hear from us as well. Okay, so letting that person allowing them to finish, because so often we're thinking about our comeback. We're like half listening to them because we want to think about, man, I'm gonna say this, and in our mind we're thinking about a comeback, and we want to one up them. We want to one up them. And that's something that we need to pay attention to, right? We need to pay attention to ourselves, especially in our personal relationships with our husbands and our partners. We need to pay attention to that, because when we, the same way that we want that respect and that comeback, is the same within our personal relationships. And God, I try to remember these trainings when I'm having an altercation with my wife, right? But it's huge. It's huge. You want to hear them. You want them to hear you. And we want to stay away from, situations like, I feel like you're trying to kill me. I feel like when you said that, like I got hit by a truck. Like I don't know about you guys, but I don't know anybody who got hit by a truck and lived and survived and tell about it, right? Yeah. So when we're having these debates or these arguments or communication breakdowns with our loved ones or with the people that we serve, we got to use words that they can understand. So I feel neglected, or I feel sad, or I feel abandoned. So because if you ever have felt abandoned or neglected, you know what this other person is feeling. But if you're talking about getting hit by a truck, or you're trying to kill me, nobody's ever tried to kill me, either. Like, so I don't know what that feels like. But keeping it concise. But sometimes we want to make this big Broadway production to show how I feel, right? But we don't have to do that. We have to just really be open, like we were talking the last time I was here about Solar, sitting squarely, keeping that body open, leaning forward, having that eye contact, and being relaxed. All of those different things, we have to incorporate that and be cognizant of that, because when you're talking to a parent, when you're talking to your significant other, we can be easily on the defensive, right? Especially if we did something wrong. If I didn't take the trash out, wash the dishes, my wife starts talking to me, I'm like this. You know what I mean? Trying to protect myself, right? Because I know, I did something wrong. So I try to be cognizant on my own body language. So, I know that this stuff is social work 101, right? I know you probably learned this stuff in your practice classes. But still, at the same time, we still have to get these reminders, these refreshers, because just because we learned it, we forget about that stuff. Because, hey, we got the degrees, right? I got it, right? But we need to stay reminded with it. So, communication breakdown can also be a form of poor eye contact, distracting sounds. This is one of the perfect offices for it. Somebody walks by, you may miss out on what's going on in the meeting right here because you see somebody walk by. You hear a big boom, boom, right? What would you say? Right here next to the Penn Station, you hear a big old boom. You don't know what's going on over there. Everybody's going to leave and go, what's going on?
That's what happened during the earthquake.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, when that happened.
You guys were in a meeting?
No, we were all the same.
Yeah, it was like a paperwork day or something like that. And I was on the phone with the foster parents at the time. It was so funny when Deanna ran down the stairs in her 5-inch toes.
Because at first we didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
You felt it and everybody looked around a little bit. And then it happened again. Everybody jumped up like, what's going on? So we ran outside,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, and then we were on top of the garage, so.
Yeah, so you just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know. So just also having those preoccupied thoughts, right? Especially you guys are all here right now, but often you think about, especially because this is one of the first things you have to do in the day. You're not thinking about effective communication or whatever training that Mike Allen is doing. You're thinking about what you have to do in the community, or you're thinking about what you're going to do at 5:00 when you get home. Who's going to be on Scandal? What's going to happen with Fitz and Liv? Tonight on Thursday. Like, you're not thinking about what's going on, but no.
Well, they probably need to repeat to catch up.
Right, exactly. There you go.
I haven't seen any. I gotta really catch up.
Yeah, go to abc.com. They have all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's less commercials too. My plug for it. I get a check from them, right? But also the biggest thing with a communication breakdown is respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because especially with the young folks, when they feel like they're not getting heard, what do they say? Trying to disrespect me.
Yeah.
Trying to disrespect. Don't try to disrespect me. That's huge for them. So what do they say about respect? Babies cry for it, men die for it. Okay, folks will die for respect, and babies cry all the time, right? Babies cry for it, men die for it. So the nonverbal cues of communication breakdown. Again, we talked about this often before, but that facial expression, the color of the face, eye contact. You know, you're talking to someone, they tapping their fingers. Or I hate when I'm doing a training and folks have those little pins with the top on it and they click, 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 click. It's like I'm getting tortured. Like I'm in Guantanamo Bay or something. I'm like, please, can you stop it, please? Because it's just like totally taking me off. I don't know what I'm gonna say because my mind is just going towards that clip, right? So that's a way to have that communication breakdown if you're having those distracting sounds in the background. And then just folks who are just flat out looking bored, you know, doing these trainings. I know sometimes I'm not the most entertaining. Sometimes I did a 6-hour training on 3 hours of sleep the night before. So I had to dig deep, but there were some people in there like, you know, and I know it was me too. I mean, you know, I know they had went to lunch prior to the second half, but I know it was me too, right? But the whole communication, so really just paying attention to everyone and just looking at the nonverbals and what they're doing, like those clenched fists right there. Like someone's going like this while I'm talking. I'm not trying to go for the door. I'm trying to get close to the door because I know that it could be not a good situation for me. So again, tools, again, conscious use of self, right? How are we going to use ourselves in different situations? Using ourself as the tool to get what we want. So just having our verbals, our nonverbals, those are all tools in terms of how we consciously use ourselves because we're doing different things deliberately. Like we're hearing our clients talking to us, or foster parents talking to us, and just, yeah, wow, you know, you're like this and you're really into them, you're feeling connected, to them, leaning forward. Definitely giving them a sense that you are connected to them, that you hear them, that you respect them, all of those nonverbal things. Even if you don't, you still can do it really good and pretend that you are like, yeah, right. Really? Oh my God, get out of here, right? Feel connected to them. That anticipatory guidance, just planning for some things that are going to happen. Going native, right? Again, you know, like my buddy, he's going native, right? He's working at this college. He's working with all of these 2-year students. He's been doing it for 10 years now, but he's going native because he's talking just like the natives right now. So he cannot increase his or move his career forward because he's going native right now. So he needs to be smacked around a little bit to say, look, dude, you know, you have to learn how to communicate because, I mean, so many things that are important in our lives is, you know, between him and I. Like, he's my daughter's godfather. I'm the godfather for his son. And, you know, my daughter had a recital. And he came late. He missed her dance because of his lack of communication. Like, he went to where she practices and not where the actual performance was. And he says, you told me it was over here. I said, that's where she goes to practice, dude. I told you that she would be on Towson's campus at such and such art center. But so you lose out on some really special opportunities like that. Okay, I'll skip this stuff. Skills inventory. I'm looking on time. Good. Okay, active listening skills. All right. So active listening skills, we meet with your clients, colleagues, so forth, significant others. You want to ask those direct questions just to seek more information and widen all the possibilities. Ask them a direct question. What's a direct question? Anybody got an example?
How are you today?
Good. Doing well. It's great. Okay. But let's see if we can get something to give us widen the possibilities a little bit more. Anybody got another example? A direct question?
Was you with a man on AWOL last night?
That's a great direct question.
Well, that's how I talk to them. I meet them where they are.
So, you know, we want to ask them the direct questions want to be a little bit more open-ended. Because if you ask me a question like that, I'm going to say yes or no, right? So you want to give me you want me to give you the whole story.
So like, what did you do today?
Right, exactly. What did you do yesterday? But then they still can take, well, kids, they're so crafty, they can take an open-ended question and make it closed.
I get more information from these kids than the social worker get from. And that's the truth. You know why?
Wow.
They're not scared of me. I mean, they know, for real, number one, you can't play the games with me. I mean, I know social workers probably have a way they have to go about doing it. I'm looking at my parenting skills, okay? When you kind of put a person in a position where they really can't lie, you know, if they already know, you know, more than likely they're going to come out with it. They really will.
Not my daughter. Not my
Really?
daughter. I can tell her, I know you didn't. No, I didn't. That's not
Don't say I know you did. Just let them know you know they did, but you come out to them and talk to them. I mean, for real,
I've
like.
tried everything.
Oh,
the only thing
you want me to talk to her?
Bring her in here to Miss Linda's boot camp.
I'm serious. I don't know why it shock y'all sometimes, right? We could be sitting in the meeting and you know, I'll come every week and you ain't never told me that. You know. But first of all, I think it's like it's not that the social workers don't build a level of trust, it's that they just don't trust social workers, right? Me, I'm not a social worker, and I let them know up front. You know, I'm here to help you like we all are, so I can't help you if you don't help yourself. So first of all, whatever you did, you know, I'm not even going to judge it. I'm not going to judge you for it. Right now, I'm trusting you.
Right.
See, that's what I said. So that means, you know, what you tell me, you saying is the truth. Now, if I find out later it's a lie, then we coming at it a different way.
Well, it's all about what I said in the beginning, right? I said with professionalism that with each profession, there's a certain stigma associated with that. So if I say social worker, right, you can go around and I ask you guys, what's the description of a social worker? You guys will go down a whole list, and you say, what's your title, Miss Linda? Like a parent?
Don't go with the titles now.
Okay. No, well, I mean, you know, but there's a difference.
I'm everything. Let's
right.
Well,
I know that, but I'm just saying. My point is, there's a different connotation between different professions.
Right.
So as children, and especially if you're going around from facility to facility to home, you kind of know how to play off those different things. And they can tell you one thing, tell the social worker something else, tell me something else, right? And they know they're gonna triangulate the situation and get what they want from different people. So, you know, the point is
they forget to realize that we all talk at some point, though.
Right.
I think they forget that we were once their age.
That too.
Absolutely.
I have to always remind you, no, I wasn't always this age. Like, I think they forget that.
Yeah, for sure. And also, not only the questions that we ask and why we ask these questions that I'm giving you, the direct, the factual, the provocative, and the redirected questions, but the active listening. You know, how do we filter that information that they give us, and what do we do to get them to achieve whatever goal? So the next one is the factual question. So requesting clarification on a specific point. So if you say, what were you doing last night? Oh, I was hanging out. Well, who were you hanging out with? You know, that's like a factual question because you want to give the facts. You want them to tell you the truth. Who were you hanging out with last night? So it was an older man, you know, because if you say I was hanging out with my girlfriend, how Maury Povich said, that was a lie, right? That was a lie, right? Provocative questions. Inquire about reasons provided for a particular point of view. Okay, so inquire about reasons provided for a particular point of view. And redirect the question shows the sender that you understand what was said through reflection. Okay, so you're reflecting, and you're also paraphrasing. So basically paraphrasing, you guys know this, it's like taking what the person, the communicator said, and just saying it over using different words. That's all you're doing, okay? It's taking those words and just literally expressing someone else's words